Welcome to the DKM episode 53, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to be Daniel and I today. Kenny's feeling under the weather, and so is his significant other. So please put him in your thoughts and in your hearts. Please send good wishes to him, and well, we hope he feels better. My only concern is that Kenny's been getting sick a lot recently, and that's always been a weird thing. Kenny's always been much like myself. Like, we don't get sick whatsoever, so it's kind of a concern. But yeah, uh, this is a good example on, ladies and gentlemen, that y'all need to eat your vitamins and your minerals and get plenty of sunlight. Stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm basically avoiding all that. I'm basically depending on this new thing called the old blood. It's a little blood transfusion you take. You get feeling great, man. I have this. Sometimes I get a little bit beastly, but I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I was about to say, buddy, you need to stop worrying about the old blood and start worrying about the eyes on the inside, dude.
Oh yeah, man, those are great. I love it. I'm starting to see like all these different dimensions and shit like that. My head hurts.
You know, I will say, Bloodborne Remake is coming out soon, and a lot of hype has been around that. But a lot of people seem to like realize that, hey, why can't more games be like this? Because especially if you grew up in the era of the PS1, PS2 genre style of games where the sprites look very specific with regards to the era in which it came out. I mean, there's some things about the Smash 64 that I still find it superior than its more modern counterparts, because like when you get hit with an electric attack in the Super Smash Bros. For the 64, you see the almost like an X-ray view of the player's skeleton, and I always thought that was cool. Stuff like that, those little sprites that add details, that add an oomph to certain moves.
Doesn't Ness still have that though? Whenever he gets shocked.
I think so, but I in N64 everyone had it,
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
but like stuff like that I've always enjoyed, which is why I always say, hey, if you're gonna get into the Dark Souls series, play Bloodborne if you can, because it's one of the it's an amazing game. It's a perfect game, honestly.
Yeah, but you have to buy a whole console for that.
That's true. That's true. You know, speaking about buying a whole console just to play one specific game, I was looking more into the whole uh piracy thing, and is it really bad to emulate a game? And honestly, I can see the legal argument for it and the ethical arguments for it, but the more I think about it is like, hey, Daniel, Kenny wants to become a game dev. Let's just say he does become a game dev at Bungie or at 343, and that is his dream, and he helps create a game that it's a great game and it's amazing. 40 years down the line, someone wants to play that game, but it's not being sold anywhere. You think Kenny, or let's just say you would be in Kenny's shoes, you think you as a game dev would be upset about the idea of your games being emulated? I would think not. It's just the
No,
corporations just love throwing,
because even at the end of the day, the developer's probably not even going to make money even when the game comes out. Assuming because it's very rare that a developer makes a bonus or anything like that, and even how well the game is. Usually, game developers do not make a royalty off of the sales of their game. So when the game is no longer in the market, it just kind of sits there. I mean, I could give you a really good example actually, where a developer went above and beyond, where the game Sonic 3D Blast, right, for the Genesis.
right.
The original developer of that game went out of his way to do a director's cut of that game that included features to make the game better, and to like enable like supersonic, a level select, a map feature, a radar, like all out of his own time. He just added that on his own because he just felt like it.
Mm-hmm.
So to him, I don't think it really bothers that, if like that. And to be mine though, I think 3D Blast is still in some Genesis collection games. I don't think it's in the newer ones, but it was definitely on the previous Genesis collection games. And yeah, that's like a good example. It's like, I think a developer would just be fine if you're able to enjoy their game whether it's through legal ways, or through emulation, because it's just no longer being sold.
It's a very ethical question, I guess, because honestly, if it doesn't bother you, then you're gonna go right at it. If you want to support the devs, then sure. But like, will buying a game? Because I was listening to our podcast, the last podcast we recorded, and Kenny was talking about him supporting the game devs by buying things, and I started to think about it. And you brought up the point, which I wanted to hit on, that you buying the game doesn't really uh benefit the devs in any way, because you're just helping the whatever publishing corporation is in charge of putting the game out there, and obviously they have to pay out royalties to the devs, not the devs themselves, but the company that has the devs. And that's what I wanted to really ask about that. Like, obviously the game devs, some of them get an incentive to do better, because when you do, like, hey, we'll give you bonuses, and if we give you bonuses, we'll give you bonuses based on if the game does good, like if it breaks a certain milestone.
I think we could talk about, like, a good example is Fallout New Vegas. Like, that was a good example, and some people have misconstrued it into believing that oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. The guys who made New Vegas, what was their name again? Obsidian, yeah. There was like this, thing that was being passed around for years of people saying, they're like, oh, Obsidian has a bad connection with Bethesda because they were promised a bonus, and it's like, man, they never like told us the bonus up front. Like, that was a thing later, and like, yeah, we would have liked the bonus, but it was never like they put that again above our heads. You know what I'm saying?
Was it CD Projekt Red that had promised bonuses or pushing the idea of bonuses when it came to Cyberpunk?
I don't know anything about it. Honestly, though, I have completely given up following up on that game at all. Like, that game is a faint memory.
I could have sworn something like that was at least discussed. All I know is that I like the idea of supporting a company, supporting a studio, but like, will you be supporting certain game devs? Because obviously I would love to support game devs in any way I can. Obviously, I hate the idea of crunch time being a thing. People working easily 80 hours a week just to meet deadlines that management says that, hey, we need to get this through, or else I'm going to get not in trouble. Normally in these cases, the manager is like, hey, they get told by their bosses saying, hey, we want this in this certain time frame, and when they don't meet that expectation, they wag their finger at them and says, that's pretty bad on you. And then obviously the management gets embarrassed, and the manager goes puts a bit of his frustrations on his team. So stuff like that really affects management, because now it affects their bonuses, their promotion chances, and crunch time is something that obviously you want to have to meet your quotas. So the more I think about it, I'm like, does really buying a game, like a special edition of a game, really help the devs in any way? Maybe the studio, perhaps the studio, right? But the devs themselves, like, and I started asking myself, I guess I started convincing more and more myself about, like, emulation isn't so bad, but whatever. But the more I think about it, honestly, like, hey, I should buy it nonetheless, because I'm pretty sure a dev would hate to see their game pirated, because especially if the game just came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm talking about more like games that are just no longer being sold on the market.
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
what I'm
definitely
talking about. But yeah, Marcos, actually, I wanted to ask you something that's been kind of in my head.
Yeah.
When do you feel like, by your own definition, do you feel like you've made it? Like, you hit a status in your life where you're no longer, nothing else really matters?
I think there's different tiers of this, because obviously I think the top tier of it is having FU money, where you have enough money where you just don't care.
Yeah, most people would fall back immediately to money. I think, like, generational wealth, or like being able to not worry about anything. But I'm just like wondering, like, where do you fall under that says, like, okay, where do you want to be in? You know what I'm saying?
Right, I get it. Obviously money is, people say that money isn't the key to happiness, but damn, does it help? Especially if you're in an impoverished situation. You've always been in a situation where you lived at the poverty line or right above it. That money does help with the whole idea of happiness. But where I see it as, like, where I've made it, um, I feel like if we're not counting money, a good, good money, a good, uh, 401k, a good job, or everything. I feel like that I can benefit being happy. My mental well-being is great, and those around me are just the same way. How you get there is it's a different discussion, because this can branch into different things, like the kind of job you pick, the kind of schooling you pick, the kind of what do you call it, the education, the heck, even the type of political system that you're in, because you want yourself to benefit as an individual, but also collectively you want your neighbors, your friends, your families to also benefit as well. So where I see myself, where I set the bar for myself, is if I were to lose most of what I have now, will I still be happy? Will I still be mentally okay? Like, I've met plenty of homeless people who aren't mentally ill, who are just homeless because they don't want to work, and they don't want to, they just like the idea of just living on their own, and they're happy. I've met these people. They're clinically not crazy, and they're just fine. They just don't want to work, and that's it. And these guys are happy. I'm not saying that they have a bad life or great life. I'm just saying that they themselves are happy at this point. Sure, they might have some health issues here. They might have some, like when a hurricane comes through, where do they go? You know, stuff like that, like different things. Or like when a random storm just comes by, like where do they go? Obviously, there's some inconveniences here and there. But I think where I see the line is, I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about, like, oh, my next paycheck, or I don't have to worry about rent, or I got to worry about like my mental health. Usually stuff like that is where I feel like I made it, and I feel like I'm almost there, but I feel like this question is really tied down with money. Like, you can't escape
of course.
it.
It definitely is a money thing, because like it's just one of those things about life that you can't avoid unless you're gonna live like a nomad in the woods or something like that, and you don't have to worry about consumer goods or having to pay for anything. I could understand that, but I guess I'm coming at this from an angle of of someone who's like an entertainer on the internet or a content creator. I was watching this documentary. I would say more like a video, and I've always hated, like, I've never been a big fan of these kinds of people on the internet, or just in general, where they'll come up to you, like, there's a terminology called like view count Andes, right?
Yeah.
Where these fucking people will get in your chat to say, "Hey man, you got 12 less viewers than you were to the other day.
Right.
You must be falling off. You dropped off. You died or something like that." And I just look at that and be like, man, like, do you guys not get it? Like, are you guys like really that out of touch? And when people say, like, oh, you've fallen off, you're not as you used to be, you're not as big as you used to be, you're washed up, da 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 da, and all I could think of is, if I'm in a position like that in the first place, I would be able to just live my life over a bunch of times over. Like, I always get really annoyed, and I hate to sound like I'm slobbing on his knob, but I always never liked the idea that people say, like, oh, Ninja fell off, his viewership is declining, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, the guy has secured the bag like 5 times over. He's already going to be running victory laps before you guys even hit your 30s at this point.
That's true. That's true.
And I don't know. I just look at all that stuff, and like when people want to shit talk on him and shit talk on other streamers and things like that, and they want to be like, "Oh, you fallen off, you done this and that," is like, dude, I don't think it really matters at this point, because the guy, unless he does something absolutely ridiculous, like I've always been, or illegal, or like something that completely dries up his resources and finances and whatever. I mean, it's just not feasible. Like, I've always been fascinated with like musicians or like celebrities that were like really big, and either they get hooked on drugs, they start getting into some illegal shit, their lives start going out of control, and then you go from living in living up in one of the houses in the hills of Beverly Hills to all of a sudden sleeping on the floor in your sister's apartment. Like, that's like an example. Be like, oh shit, like something horribly happened. Like, there's something going on here, but a lot of these guys, assuming that they got everything set, and they got all their businesses set for, I highly doubt these people are going to be getting hungry anytime soon. And I think what the thing that really fascinates me is, especially going back with the ninja thing, right, is that I had the start, right. Have you noticed that, like, whenever a YouTuber tries to break out into like the mainstream, it usually leads into music? Like, have you noticed that everyone starts having like a rap album, a diss track, or things like that? Because music is very repeatable. It's very, it's easily to rewatch them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I thought about this the other day. It's like, you know what? Like, generally speaking, like internet celebrities is still kind of like a new thing. You know, like even though I could safely say from the early 2000s and stuff, you know, when like it's so crazy to me to this day. I think about like how much money is in the gaming industry, like in just in sense of competing and streaming and viewership and just promotion and stuff like that. When this hobby originally was just like super small, super tight knit, you were only big on
Ostracized in many circles too. Like, oh, this guy plays video games now. Like, ugh, let's get away from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's just what's so crazy to me is that like you got now streamers who are net worth are about millions and millions of dollars, and a lot of these people are smarter. They start getting into businesses and things like that. And what I'm getting at with this is that why you think like so many content creators have to take those sponsorships. They have to get signed up with all these companies. They have to, you know, put a brand out. They have to go do that because that is a long-term business that you could succeed, because, you know, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And I think that that's just really interesting, is that like why so many people don't just only want to be famous on the internet. They got to be famous to the normies, essentially. They got to go on Jimmy Fallon. They got to go promote this. They got to go do sponsorships. They got to go sign up with Nike and things like that. And it's just because that's sort of a sense of permanence. You know, they want to have a legacy, because generally speaking, Marcos, I think internet careers are super fleeting. You could be the biggest fucking thing for a year straight, and then within the next year another person could overtake you and you'll be just forgotten or thrown to the side.
I think with gaming that's arguable, I guess. I agree with a good amount of points you had, but when it comes to the whole they keep chasing the bag, they keep trying to get bigger. Well, of course you want to get bigger. You want to promote your thing, your brand or whatever, because eventually maybe you have a dream. I'm not saying everyone has this, but let's just say you, Daniel, have a dream of not only getting enough money to have FU money, but you can start a group. You can start some sort of gaming house, like what they have, you know, where a whole bunch of streamers and whatnots come together.
Oh God, fuck that.
No, but hear me out. It's not a house per se, but it's a group. And these are the people you're like, hey.
No, it's a bunker, guys. It's a fucking bunker. We're gonna be playing the Fortnite when the apocalypse happens.
Basically, so it's a group.
And we're drinking G Fuel, no water, just G Fuel.
That's all together, and you guys are just like, these are your close friends, right? So you've made it big. You've hit whatever goal you wanted to hit, and then some. So you said, hey, I'm gonna start your own gaming group called ABC Games, right? And this ABC Games is all of your friends, because they also want a chance to make it big. Not just big, but I wouldn't say big, but make it so that they get a healthy amount of income coming in. That being said,
I know what you're
right. So let's just say you're one of those. Well, I'm pretty sure at that point you feel like you've made it twice. One where you have your money, and then one where you're making sure your homies make it. So I which is why I think like there's different tiers to it. Obviously, like there's a tier where you got to secure your own bag, and then the next tier I think from that is either make sure like you make sure that that bag maintains that way, and then the next or you continue on and make sure that bag helps other people make it. You know what I mean? So Ninja obviously he stops caring about his viewership count. He doesn't care as much, because obviously when you think of streaming, everyone still talks about Ninja. Even normies do. Of course you want to hit the normie market, like anyone.
I was just, you know, it's funny too. I was just thinking about how, like, I was walking out of a clinic the other day, and there was a kid wearing a Ninja shirt,
right,
like just merchandise like that. And that's crazy to me. Like, how often do you see, you know, merchandise of your favorite content creator out in the public,
right,
not counting the convention, knowing that that person's going to be there?
Right. I think that's like where you want to hit, because like here's a better example. Let's just say you are a content creator in the UK. You want to make sure that your content reaches America and gets popular in America, because America has 330 million people, and that's a market that you want to be a part of. one of the good reasons why PewDiePie got famous is because he got famous in America, and America basically bolstered his numbers. And given how the YouTube algorithm works, he was able to establish a dominance in the early YouTube. So heck, even now. So I'm not saying it's because of America and the way he marketed himself. It's just because obviously he spoke English, and one of the biggest consumer of media is, well, Americans. PewDiePie did rather well. So if you are outside of the U.S., you want to hit the American audience hard because they're the ones who get you popular. Hence why it's a good example that a lot of artists, a lot of music tend to copy like hip hop here in America, because that's exactly what the world thinks it's culturally popular, I guess, because America does it. So and they find it cool. So if I do it, it should be the same thing, right? So when it comes to content creation as a whole, I feel like once you secured that bag, once you secured like a safety net for yourself, what else do you want from yourself, from your brand? Because I know of some channels, some podcasts that I'm pretty sure you've heard this of some YouTubers. Like if all of my subscribers just gave me $1, this would be my on my Patreon. This would be my full-time job, and I will never have to work ever again except YouTube. So there are some podcasts where literally their fan base, most, I wouldn't say most, like half of their fan base donates like $1, and these guys are millionaires, and they don't have millions and millions of views like most of these bigger channels do on Twitch. They just have a small set of really loyal groups. And that being said, they're successful financially speaking only because a fat portion of their fan base is loyal enough to give them money. So imagine you have 5,000 subscribers on Patreon, all giving you $1. You're making $5K a month. That's crazy, right? And you'll be able to make a good amount of money just doing that. So I feel like,
well, not factoring taxes, remember.
well, obviously, but this is just
This is saying this hypothetical, they're making $5K a month.
right. And that being said, like, you can have people who have millions of subscribers, but only 1,000 people subscribe to their Patreon. You know, it's a lot of push and pull. It's a lot of like wondering what you can do and how loyal you can get your fan base to be to you. So I think if it depends on the type of person you are, because if you want to be successful, you could think about, I want to be like the Logan Pauls and the Jake Pauls of the world. I want to be a streamer like Ninja, who's on New Year's Eve celebrations on New York,
Times Square. Yeah.
Yes,
That was fun.
that was kind of yikes. That was kind of
Hey, man, he was just, just couldn't do it. I mean, like, I had a coworker try to do the floss in front of me, and I vomited in front of her. She tried her best, but sometimes you just can't commit war crimes in public. Just can't do that.
to take the day off. I wouldn't blame it. I wouldn't blame you.
No, I went to HR. I told her I need some help with that. I mean, I'm mentally scarred, man. I still have nightmares. That's why I started, I'm having all that insight and shit going in. So that's not good. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. I think another thing that brings it up is just like, as a content creator, and I think as just generally as an artist, you live and die on what you're putting out there. Sometimes it's not just a money thing. It's just a sense of creativity. Like, how many people do you see work really hard to achieve a goal, for example, right? And they finally achieve that goal. There's that sense of accomplishment, and that dopamine hit kicks in, right? Mm-hmm. And you're feeling great in the top of the world. Nothing could put you down, right? Mm-hmm. But you already achieved the goal. You worked all this time, weeks to months to maybe even years, to either get the dream job, get the capital, get this and that. But now you hit that, and you're still in your late 30s maybe, or maybe even your mid 20s, and there's a sort of sense of a downfall from that, because now you just don't know where to go from there. Mm-hmm. Either you get horribly depressed, you don't know where to go, maybe you're just you're not burnt out, but you can't make anything. And that's probably the worst, where it's just like your job is to be creative, but what happens when the creativity just stops flowing? Right. It stops coming and going, and I think that's another good example right there. I think that, in my opinion, like, if it were up to me, like, if you were to ask me, like, where would I draw, my plan would be, like, I want to have a legacy. I want to be known. I want to be remembered. I want people to, remember me for years to come. But I also just don't want to be myself. I also want to do other projects. I want to be ahead of other, like, projects that I've always wanted to do with other content creators. Like I won't probably be the face of it, but I'll probably be the one to support it because I want that thing to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I would start like an org or something
Right.
like that. And I think that at that point, it's just that if I'm already secured capital wise, I would just do what I want to do at that point. Like, who cares if I'm no longer brand friendly or I'm not doing this and that? I already secured the bag. I could just do whatever the fuck I want for the rest of my life and I don't have to worry about it.
I think you have to be careful also being a content creator because obviously your life is very public. So words you say, things you do are held at a higher standard, because well, all eyes are on
You're
you.
a public figure.
Yeah, all these eyes are
Yeah.
on you. So you can't just really, even though you have that FU money, even if you do have it, you have this passion of doing content creation. So let's just say a whole, like you accidentally mess up somewhere and you handle the whole the whole what do you call it, the backlash, the public backlash all wrong, that you start attacking people, you start going off on everything and you bomb hard. You bomb your industry hard. Well, that now you're in a bad spot because like, have you been investing your money properly? Can you like live off the rest of your life with what you already made and invested? And it becomes an industry where once you get big enough, you got to be careful on how you continue your day-to-day life. But if you from the get-go have been toxic, I guess, and that's your whole brand of being toxic, I guess that's okay.
I argue that the whole cancel thing, I think it only really applies to online personalities. I think like if you're generally like a person that's very a public figure, and I mean by that in like in the sense of television stuff like that, I think you'll be fine. Because with the internet, your entire whole basis is that you want a large number of people to like you. But if you're on television, for example, you're practically guaranteed. Like, look at Ellen, for example. Like, Ellen's still around. People are still going to keep watching Ellen, even though all the shit came out of her about horribly treating her staff and stuff like that. There's always going to be a viewership.
Well,
But when you get canceled on Twitter,
right.
you're kind of wrapped. Like, that's it. No one wants to be a part of you. No one wants to support you. No one wants to watch you. I think that's probably another reason why so many people break into the music industry. You know, like when people try to cancel Joji because of his Filthy Frank content, it's like, well, yeah, no fucking shit. That's what he does. That's what he did. You know.
With regards to Ellen, I think she's just a bit too big. You know,
Right.
because although she did what she did, she treated her staff in not the best of ways. She obviously wasn't a Weinstein where he.
Well, Weinstein just did shit criminally. That's
That's different.
thing.
You see, that's a different level, and I can definitely get you canceled hard. But Ellen obviously didn't do that. She obviously wasn't like the best of people. Obviously, she was wearing a mask whenever the cameras were on, but once once the cameras were off, it was a completely different person. So that being said, I don't think in Ellen's case it's going to be like it. Maybe she won't see the numbers she once saw after this whole truth came to light. However, she's still not going to be canceled because what she did was just dickish. It was just rude, It wasn't it wasn't like, wow, this is horrible. I'm never ever going to do anything with Ellen again. That's just like, I mean, it sucks, but people still want Ellen for the clout chase. People still want Ellen for the name because she still has a big name. I'm pretty sure Oprah has done a whole bunch of bad stuff, but no one cares about it because, well, it's Oprah.
Oh, yeah, fuck
She's
her.
big enough to not give a crap. Forget about FU money. They got FU publicity. As long as they don't do anything too illegal, they're fine. And honestly,
Or they could just get away with it.
oh, yeah, that's true. So one good thing about, I guess, the industry as a whole is if you look at Mr. Beast. Even Mr. Beast has haters, and Mr. Beast. I'm not saying he's without sin. I'm just saying what he has done thus far and how he all the things he's done for the good of the people, for his community, for anyone who's involved in this thing. Like the dude's even done, what was it, tree
Philanthropy.
tree planting
Well, he does.
thing, like
Yeah, he
campaigns.
does philanthropy.
Yeah,
He does feeding. He has like, in fact, like Critical was talking about how like people are giving him shit because he was reenacting the Squid Game, and all these fucking dumbasses coming out of the woodwork saying like, well, isn't Squid Game supposed to be a critique on capitalism? Why, if Mr. Beast has all this money to recreate it, why doesn't he just donate all the money? Well, let's break this down, genius. One, Netflix made Squid Game. They didn't give any money out of it, and that's supposed to be a comment about capitalism and why it's so fucked up and it puts people in this dog eat dog world. And two, Mr. Beast is making it with literally less than half the budget that the original show was made, and all the money that he's making from that viewership goes straight into charity, and he does philanthropy work on the side. So
right.
I don't. You can't win. You can't win in this situation. People don't look at the bigger picture in the situation. They think like, oh, let me just give a donation money, and there you go. I'm instantly void of sin. I never like it when people want to tell other people how they should be able to spend their money, unless you're doing something stupid like crack, or you're getting into like, you're just throwing money away. But it's like, don't tell other people how they should be spending their money.
Wait, now hold on now. Crack is just fine as long as your actions while you're high don't lead to harming anyone else or another animal. Then that's fine. You can do crack. You can microdose crack if you feel like it.
No, you can do whatever the fuck you want. That's what I'm saying. You can do that. But I'm talking about those people who are just like, why isn't this rich person giving out more money? And it's just like, well, they don't have to if they don't want to. I don't want anyone to tell me how to spend my money.
That's true. I guess when it comes to like with Mr. Beast's case, people just want to hate just to hate. Because again, like we said it multiple times in this podcast, Twitter is definitely the vocal minority, the loud vocal minority that's being amplified through the lens of through the megaphone that is Twitter. And not only that, media, news media just further perpetuates stuff like that whenever they see a trending tab. So if Mr. Beast gets trending on like number 5 trending, cancel Mr. Beast, and the whole argument behind it is that, hey, Mr. Beast doesn't donate money to people, then that's like but people will still report on it because it's still a big thing on Twitter. That being said, like, yeah, Mr. Beast is doing his best to do what he wants. He's got the FU money, obviously. Like, if you look at his original content, he tried his best to appease the YouTube algorithm by using the word the Paul brothers, both their names, constantly, nonstop in his original videos, his old videos. Now he doesn't even mention their name whatsoever, unless it's a video really, really focusing on something that they did. So that being said, like, yeah, it's people just want to hate just to hate. It comes with the territory. It comes with the reputation. I mean, obviously, but with regards to Mr. Beast, like, he's obviously made it, and he's continuing to make strides. He's continuing to make what he wants to make, which is a better community, better everything. I can see why some people might hate on Elon Musk, but either way, the dude's like, he's trying his best to do whatever he wants to do, I guess. But people still have that same mentality to Elon Musk as they do to Mr. Beast, because Mr. Beast, obviously, he doesn't reveal how he gets his money. He doesn't want to, actually, because he whatever his reasoning is, it's his own. But at the end of the day, like, give the man credit, dude. Mr. Beast definitely does what he needs to do, and he gets it done. And he makes good content, and he makes great content, actually. I stopped watching his stuff mainly because I don't really find a good amount of his stuff interesting. Like, hold your hand on this car for, like, in the last one to take their hand off wins this car. I'm like, I get it, but, like, it's not that interesting to me. It's not.
All my life, I've always seen like Mr. Beast is like talked about, but I've never seen a single one of his videos.
Oh, well, he does a lot of that. Either challenges for people to do, like, keep your hand on this vehicle and you'll win this vehicle.
Yeah, I know. I've seen his thumbnails. I just never seen any of his videos.
The way he edits his videos is very, I guess it's not too original. Obviously he does it his own way, but it's the very.
I doubt he's even editing it. I highly doubt he's editing his videos.
He himself? I don't think anymore.
Yeah. No, I doubt it. He clearly has an editor.
Obviously. Like, well, either way, like, even the edits, like, it's still, like, it's not original. What I mean by that is, like, it's very peppy. It's very, like, hey, this is what we're doing today. Yeah, stuff like that. Like, it's that sort of happy talk, I guess, that you're trying to bring this happy emotion, this exciting emotion with your content. It's that's what I mean by not original. I'm not saying he's copying anyone. I'm saying that's what, That's what it is. So obviously he makes good videos. Obviously people love him just because of the type of person he is. But there's some videos I do like from him that I've watched before in the past. I kind of want to watch the whole Squid Game thing to see how it actually turned out, to see if this like how it left some Twitter mobs seething because they just want to hate just to hate. So I just want to see what he put that money to, like to good use, and where he donated it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest because I think that people who just kind of dog on people's success and they try to like pounce on those sorts of people and just be like, hey, you're not as good, you're washed up, you're this and that. It just always bothered the hell out of me because it's just like, man, like you guys are looking at it in a small scale. You guys haven't even got on the finish in the starting line yet. I'm already like running victory laps around you, And I think that by that point, and maybe that's just something you're gonna get when you get bigger and maybe when I hit 1 million subscribers. It's not even going to be in the back of my mind because successful people, especially those without like super low self-esteem or they don't gotta be trying to prove everybody that they're badasses or something. I think to them it's just like, oh, you're telling me I'm washed up? Yeah, you and 50,000 people have also said that, but why go cash this $1 million check in or something, And it's just like I don't think I'd really care. All I'm saying is I'm trying to be in this earth to leave a legacy and hopefully to start something that at least when I'm gone and I'm 6 feet under and I'm nothing but worm food, I hopefully that my influence will reach to the rest of the world and something changes.
I guess with regards to that mentality, I mean, why would you ever criticize Ellen because she got her money and therefore she can stop caring about the way she treats other people because, well, she obviously doesn't care. Like,
well, not caring about what haters think versus abusing their staff is two different things.
Well, no. They work hand in hand because obviously the haters will hate on you for the way you treat your staff, and you can just be like, haters gonna hate, and you can just have that mentality and continue walking the walk, whatever walk you're walking, I guess.
Right.
But I think with regards to I guess you can criticize people with success because if like there obviously too much of anything is bad for you. So here comes an argument with like too much money, I guess, because like sure you can invest that money into different projects that you would want to have, but there's a limit to how you want to benefit your company because obviously I'm not sure if you heard of this one CEO. I think his name is something Price. I can't remember. I could be wrong. But this one dude where he started paying everyone at a starting salary of $70K, and he took a huge pay cut just to like his entire workforce. It wasn't that big of a workforce, but he let everyone start out at $70,000 salary, and everyone was talking about, oh, your business is gonna fail because you're paying you're paying a lot of money to your employees, and you're not taking any money for yourself to invest. And they say your business won't last for 2 years. And well, guess what? His business is still going on. His business is actually more successful, and because of the increase of pay that he did for his entire staff, company productivity went up, employee happiness went up, and because of that, people were able to afford better things, and because of that, people were happy to have the opportunity to have more kids because now they have the money to support their whatever lifestyle they wanted, and that lifestyle was having family. So at least with this guy, like, I'm sure he's done wrong in his past. Obviously, no one's no
one's perfect.
No one's perfect.
You said something in an Xbox Live party when you were 12 years old, canceled.
Yeah, right. He who is without sin cast the first stone, right? So he but either way, he is doing good by his success, and by doing good, thank God the world isn't that, I guess, corrupted, that him being good to his people actually benefited him, because a lot of people, well, what's the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. So he did a good deed, and the only punishment he got was a small amount of backlash from media, and that's really about it. But yeah, I think leaving a legacy is what everyone wants, and I still, like, the phrase still exists of like in a lot of people's heads, like, hey, you die twice, once when you physically die, and one when the last person ever speaks your name, that, like, to ever speak your name, like, because they've known you. And that's really it. Like,
that's why dudes be making pyramids and shit and be like, nope, no one will forget me this time.
That's true.
That's a big ass fucking grave.
speaking about things that are grave, right? We're not talking about no pyramid schemes here, nothing no pyramid, but Final Fantasy VII Remake is in a very grave condition right now. Like most PC ports, I'm not sure if anyone in our audience have noticed, when a game originally starts out on console and then comes over to PC later, usually has a rather bad port to PC. Maybe it's a coding issue, maybe it's whatever issue. I just don't know. It doesn't feel like there's enough love in there. I like bringing up the discussion with Dark Souls. Dark Souls on PC didn't get any love whatsoever from the actual developers, and you can download this thing called DSX, which can fix your the game, because obviously at this point the From Software just said, just download that, dude. Who cares? But Final Fantasy VII Remake, I never played it. I've played the original Final Fantasy VII, never completed it, but I have seen the memes for it, and it's not something that I've ever wanted to beat. I've seen enough gameplay about it where I'm like, I got the experience already. So,
Did you ever beat a Final Fantasy game?
10.
10?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really like 10 because I spent so much time playing the what's that sport called? The frick game when you're underwater and you're playing with this ball and the goal.
Oh, fuck.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that game was so brain-numbingly enjoyable that I just kept playing it. I think. Wait, actually, I don't even.
Blitzball. Yeah, it was called Blitzball.
Blitzball. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I don't think I actually beat Final Fantasy X, but I think it's the one I got closest to beating. Not because I couldn't beat it, it's because I just stopped playing it because game was either scratched up too much because when I was a kid I took really bad care of my discs and I didn't know better, or something happened. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was that discs. Not.
Did you have that issue where you when you transitioned to battle, it took you forever?
Ugh. Yes.
That was an issue for a lot of early PS2 owners because the disc reader would always get fucked up at that point. And I was remembered by Johnny's video of the PS2 where he was talking about like he had to sit like a couple minutes in between battle transitions.
Which is why I guess I'm happy downloading games, I guess, digitally, especially if you have an SSD, because things download, obviously, they load faster. I mean, granted, I'm not saying anyone should play this game or they should go out of the way to really play this game, but I've been enjoying the hell out of Fallout 76 a lot more because I have a PS5 and everything loads faster. It's my cup of tea. I'm just surprised the game is entertaining me to this degree, but
I think that's one of the first things everybody notices when they switch from console to PC. Everything just loads generally a lot faster.
Did you see
like I remember?
Go ahead.
Like here's a good example. Sonic Generations. Like that used to take me like a minute to load, but now like 10 seconds in, like even less, and I was like, whoa, that was fast.
That's true. Do you remember the PlayStation 5 when they first announced the whole PlayStation 5? They were showing the hardware, like what it can do, and the game that they chose to show whatever they wanted to show was Spider-Man, and Sonic Spider-Man 2018 Spider-Man, where it would load like the fast travel. Yeah, that's what it was. The fast travel on PS4 would take like 8 seconds, 10 seconds, but on the SSD,
I have never fast traveled, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just felt like swinging around was so much fun.
The only time I ever fast traveled was this. With spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the 2018 Sonic Spider-Man. Do you remember when this thing was released to the city, making causing the whole city to go into chaos?
People.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I loved doing forts, the little forts that pop up, and there was this one challenge that kept pissing me off that I couldn't beat because I kept pushing myself to make it perfect. And I didn't need to be perfect, but I wanted it to be perfect, and I kept messing up, and I kept restarting. And once I beat it, I said, "That's it! I finally got it!" And then I fast traveled to the nearest post, to the main. It was a side mission that I wanted to do, and I fast traveled to that because I was pissed off of what I was trying to do because I made the game more complicated, made the game harder than what it needed to be. So. Yeah, out of frustration, I used fast travel because I got impatient. So that's really it. But yeah, like honestly. I love the whole meme of like, oh, it makes you feel like I'm Spider-Man. I'm playing a Spider-Man. I've never got that feeling, but I like how fluid it was. How it reminded me of Spider-Man 2, the original Spider-Man 2 video game. How everything was nice and smooth. But yeah, it's people like you're gonna you're obviously going to
But
show
not
off your SSD or your hardware using the current generation build on the new generation, or a current generation game on a new generation build, to see like, hey, this is how fast things load. So
yeah, it's a good thing, or it's like people are gonna say like, oh man, it's so difficult to go back to like regular hard drives after getting so used to SSDs. Which is funny because like hopefully one day when I build a new computer, I've always been curious like how much of a benefit will it be for a gaming PC if every game is installed on an SSD rather than a old fashioned hard drive.
yeah, that's definitely a discussion anyone would want to have, to see like, what are you gonna use that PC for? Because if you're gonna use that PC for video, what do you call it, for video editing? Like,
Editing.
once your videos are already edited, sure, you can have them on a hard drive, but when you're doing the process of actually getting them ready and processing them, you want them on an SSD, because
Yeah, because you definitely want things to load up, especially when you have like a lot of videos and things like that. It takes a while.
especially if
to
they
load.
compress a lot of things too. So
Right.
for those who don't know the difference between HDD and SSDs, HDD stands for hard. What was it? No, HDD. Yeah, hard disk
Hard
drive.
disk drive.
And SSD stands for solid state.
SSDs.
Yeah, solid state drive. So a hard drive is basically, just imagine one of those old.
A metal disc that's constantly being written.
Yeah, yeah.
On. That's why you hear it.
Right. What I wanted to compare it to was a mental visualization is those vinyl records that you can play music that has a little needle coming onto it, and it sends in like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Those
Yeah, I have a
record player.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Speak about that. Yeah.
A hard drive.
Well, turntable,
looks,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, a hard drive looks exactly like that. There's an arm, a little needle, and then a disc, a little metal disc that saves things on, which is what Daniel was saying. When you hear it saving or loading something, you can hear the little winding up of it being, like, information being changed. But on the SSD, it's just code being launched back and forth without any disk needed to be
And less mechanical moving parts, so there's less points of failure essentially at that point.
Right. And one thing that solid state drives have the advantage of is that they have higher bit rates of information being exchanged. So I think the PlayStation has like a 5,000, like it could change like 5,000 bits easily per second, no problem. And I think it's like something super crazy fast. So one thing that I think the PlayStation has is an accessible, the PlayStation 5 at least has a slot that like an expandable M.2 slot that you can just put in there, and you can have an extra 2 terabytes if you wanted to. So all I know is that, yeah, it's gonna be really hard to go back to like having your system, your Windows, your game launchers, your games going.
Yeah, I can't imagine using a regular hard drive on your Windows computer anymore. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just my computer's just getting old or something, but Windows still takes me like a minute or two. But I remember the first time when I installed Windows on an SSD, complete game changer. Absolutely fucking crazy to me. I'm, like you're used to like come if you had like the shitty family computer, you had to come home, turn it on, go take a shit, come back, and then you have to put the password in and leave, and then come back later. Like, this is like a complete game changer, and it's really good when you have to like do something, but like overclocking something, you have to go back to the BIOS every once in a while. So the fact you have an SSD, oh my god, it makes such a world of a difference.
So I've built
this
this PC with Kenny because he obviously knows more about PC than I do, and I don't feel too comfortable. Like, I know I can do it by myself. I don't feel comfortable to do it.
It's good to have a friend to help.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable there like to do it by myself. I feel like I can do it. I just did it with him to confirm my what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. For the most part, I was right. Like, what I needed to do was right, but still it helped him being there. So having this SSD and going back and forth with BIOS, like with BIOS, changing the settings in the BIOS and restarting things, my PC, I think the longest time I ever took to boot from me hitting restart was 8 seconds. In contrast to my old PC, which I had Windows installed on my hard drive, it took 30 seconds. And I got so used to that literally I woke up, I hit the power button on my PC. I was going to go to use the bathroom because it was early in the morning. And right before I hit the door, it was already on. I'm like, oh, dang. Like, I take it for granted sometimes that it loads up that quick. And like, I'm usually the first one to load up in a video game, in the Call of Duty lobby. I'm the first one to load up in most games, really, because everyone's still on their consoles. And even consoles with SSDs, they don't load up as fast.
Do you have those games installed? On the SSD?
Yeah, I have 4 terabyte memory.
I wonder if Warzone benefits from the SSD installation, because I feel like that things take longer to load in Warzone, which, the new Warzone map is not all that cut out to be. If you saw I think I mentioned that in the podcast in the last week's podcast, where I mentioned that it feels like not Activision didn't properly do their checks and balances on that, because man, I fucking hated it. I hated this one bug where I said to people, like, like most people, I use tap to ADS, because you don't want to use hold to ADS. And nothing aggravated me more when I un-ADS without even trying, or when I'm running across the map and I start ADSing like random. God, that got me so fucking peeved. I'm sorry. Anyways, going back to what you were saying.
Well, that's actually quite interesting that you have tap to ADS. I hate tapping to ADS because then I forget to untap.
Oh, fucking yeah. No, I can't do hold ADS. Why would you want to put pressure on your mouse?
I don't know.
It doesn't change anything. It's no different from clicking versus than like holding a trigger down on your controller.
Maybe it's just like a habit. It's a habitual thing,
I guess. Yeah.
Like obviously, like I still have the habit of holding, like I have the, what was it? How these Call of Duty games, they have their own. You can hit one button to prone and one button to crouch.
Oh, the hold.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm still accustomed to having one button control my position. Like for proning, crouching, or standing.
Yeah, you press circle to crouch, and then you hold circle to prone.
Yeah.
I have two. It's two buttons now.
Yeah, in PC you can have either two buttons or one button, but I have it set to one button because it's something habitual.
Yeah,
which is why
I understand. Call of Duty is one of those games that took me the longest to get used to switching from console to PC, because it was the weirdest one for all the years I used to play MW2 and Black Ops 1. I had to learn that, like, oh yeah, this is Call of Duty. Like every other shooter, I had no problem with.
I will say, and I'll give my 2 cents about it with regards to swapping over to PC, that I've obviously improved. My gameplay has improved overall, and I'm glad it has. However, I can see like why aim assist is such a thing. But if you look at high level plays and players, people tend to use controllers because of aim assist and how broken aim assist is. So people would connect a controller of their preferred choice, whether it be a PlayStation or an Xbox controller. Heck, even if it was a game controller, they would play on it, right? They just connect it to their PC and they would play Warzone on it, because they would get the benefits of having a PC that can run at higher frames, less jitters. It can load in things from way further beyond than what a console can, and obviously PC has that field of view, which Call of Duty Cold War and Vanguard now have a FOV slider for console as well. But for Modern Warfare, it's still a PC thing, and I don't know if Warzone has it for console as well.
I know that it was something requested. Last time I saw an article about that, they said that Warzone console players are still asking for an FOV slider.
Right, so you have all these advantages. Now you're throwing in a controller, so you're now on PC.
I wonder, though, that's a technical limitation, though.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Because it's like, I think it has to be, because, technically speaking, FOV is just a convenience thing, because, you're playing on a computer monitor, so you're inherently closer to the screen. So when you play a game with a super low FOV, it makes you feel like really nauseous and really uncomfortable, because like your face is really up close. So that's why the FOV is so low on consoles, because they expect you to be playing it on like a couch, for example. So
right,
maybe that's the
right
reason.
So imagine just having all the benefits of PC gaming. Now you have aim assist because you plugged in a controller there in your computer, and now you have aim assist. And a lot of pro players have been using controllers on their PC mainly to get the benefits of everything. So I mean, it's up to you how you want to play. I've been comfortable with controllers. Honestly, I've played Call of Duty once more on controller, and it felt weird because I couldn't flick. I couldn't move as fast because you're only limited by the speed in which
the stick.
Yeah, by the stick, but not so much the stick itself, but there's a limitation to how you can turn, right? Sensitivity, right? So on PC you can go quick because you're only limited by the amount of mouse pad room you have. But in console you're only limited by the sensitivity rate, like what's the rate of you making full circle in one direction or the other.
Right.
But yeah, I honestly play what you want. I don't care. Just don't play on Nintendo systems because they're inferior, please.
Assuming that those games even released on Nintendo consoles in the first place. But I'll tell you one thing I've been enjoyingly playing, and now you guys can't play it. I've been really enjoying Endwalker. I've been slobbing on Square Enix's knob for a bit because this expansion has been fantastic. In fact, it's so fantastic that Square Enix is now suffering from success. Yoshi P is legitimately like that DJ Khaled album where he's suffering from success.
We've
Where
our whole podcast has come full circle. We're talking about securing the bag, being successful, so everyone else can be successful. And now here we go. Yoshi P. He secured the bag. Now he doesn't need advertisements. Now he doesn't need to have the game out anymore. No one else can buy the game now. He's successful.
That's it. Yeah. And yeah, so what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure you guys know, if you guys have been keeping track of anything about Final Fantasy 14 lately, 14 is kind of congested right now. There's a lot of players right now because, with the big hype, a lot of people transitioning over from WoW to 14, a lot of WoW refugees, a lot of people because of Asmongold Stream, and with the fact that they released a very, 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 what's the word I want to use? A very generous free trial. A lot of people also have gotten into Final Fantasy 14 that way. Actually, I'm legitimately curious. I don't know anybody's actually started playing 14 through the free trial yet, but I'm sure there is. But yeah, Square Enix is responding to the massive congestion, and because these massive congestion, players are having a hard time getting into the game because the queue times are so big. Like in my case, for example, the only way I could play Final Fantasy 14 is when I get home from work early in the morning when I'm dead fucking tired because the queue times are almost non-existent.
Yeah, the queue times are
But
for
if I try to play it
queue times are about an hour to 4 hours even. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's assuming that you can even get through the queue because there's that error code, error 2002, which is really funny because they found out what was the cause of the bug, and apparently it is a bug from Final Fantasy XIV's 1.0 launch.
What?
So the curse of 1.0 still exists
no.
even years later.
Yoshi P sweating.
That's fucking... He's just sweating. He's like, my arch nemesis returns. Man, this new anime arc is going to get fucking crazy, dude. So yeah, Final Fantasy 14 is officially pulled off of store shelves. You can't buy the game. If you can't buy the starter edition, you can't buy the complete edition.
Trial.
You can't play the free trial. Yeah, that meme is officially dead. I can't, bother Marcos and Kenny anymore to play it. But when it comes back, though, lo and behold, I'm gonna bother the shit out of Marcos and Kenny to give the free trial a shot. But yeah, you can't get the free trial anymore, and free trial players are now only, I hate to say this, segregated to only play at certain times, which I'm not that bothered by because yeah, if I'm a paying member, I would definitely want to have a little bit more priority to be able to play my fucking game I'm paying for. Which that's another thing though. Final Fantasy because of the large queue times though, Yoshi P has even stated that they're extending the game time from 7 days to an additional 14 days now because he just doesn't feel right about charging people money for not being able to play a game, which nothing but mad props. And I thought about this the other day too. It's like, so many companies release these games that are buggy, broken pieces of shit, and they're unplayable. And then they just sort of say, oh yeah, we know that we released the game at a buggy piece of shit and you spend your $60 on it, but don't worry guys, we're going to be fixing it for years to come. And it's like, well, why don't you just pull the game, fix it, and then release it later? Wouldn't that be a faster way to do it?
No.
I mean, like, the last game I saw do that was Batman Arkham Knight. Was that Marcos?
No, because you'll be pissing off the investors.
Oh, yeah, obviously. No fucking shit. But, like, how the hell is, like, Square Enix investors are going to be like, hey, guys, remember that successful MMO we've been doing? We're making a shitload of money. Yeah, we're not selling it anymore. We're just not going to, like, make any money off of it. Oh, by the way, all those advertisers we spent money on, yeah, don't even do it anymore.
Quick question, Daniel.
Cancel
Quick question about Final Fantasy 14. Is this a queue just to play Endwalker, or is this a queue for anything involving Final Fantasy 14?
No, it's the entire game.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, to clarify what that means, Marcos, when I say Endwalker, I'm talking about because I'm doing Endwalker content. I don't know how WoW does it. From what I can understand, ever since Cataclysm, they changed a lot of things that they add and remove stuff. Like, that's from what I've always got. Like, I watch Mad Season Show a lot on YouTube, and even though I don't give a fuck about playing World of Warcraft, I love watching his WoW content. He talks about how, like, content gets removed all the time in World of Warcraft, either because of the Cataclysm update or this and that. When you're playing through Final Fantasy 14, it's still like a Final Fantasy game first and an MMO second. So you play a story through a Realm Reborn, post Realm Reborn, Heavensward, post Heavensward, Stormblood, and so on and so on. That's what it means, is that you can't get into the actual game whatsoever. When I say Endwalker, I'm just playing through Endwalker's MSQ right now, which is fucking nutty. Holy shit.
Well, obviously, Yoshi P has been hit with a streak of luck as well. I'm not saying that this success isn't warranted by his hard work and his team's hard work. Obviously, given the whole nonsense when it comes to, like, hey, when you think about MMOs, when you think about, people normally go to, like, World of Warcraft or RuneScape because...
Or New World.
Right. So, one thing that definitely helped Final Fantasy 14 was obviously the whole debacle with the whole Warcraft Reforged. And just their expansions not being up to par, devs not really making the game what it used to be.
Well, WoW and WoW 3 are two separate games.
Yeah.
Like,
but
I understand it's the same company. Yeah,
right, but it's still the message is being put out there that like, hey, like Blizzard doesn't seem to care this much about feedback, and then not only that, Blizzard being sued by and investigated.
Yeah, we all know, right?
So.
Right.
All that led a huge migration over to like, hey, how can we say shit our MMO our wants or MMO craves? A lot of people went back to RuneScape because obviously a lot of people started off with RuneScape. I mean, technically now since Final Fantasy 14 free trial isn't the thing, I might go back to RuneScape until it comes out because I got a lot of friends who play RuneScape still, both old school and new school. So and obviously New World still not being like the potential for New World is there, but it's not ready to tackle on the giants, the juggernauts that are FF14 and WoW. But it has potential. So now all these people are flocking to Final Fantasy 14, and they've been enjoying not only the very, very, very friendly free trial, which is the whole part of the meme. Because if you compare the free trial to if you compare FF14's free trial to WoW's, it's literally like it's not comparable. WoW's is pathetic.
No.
It's honestly just it just gives you a little taste. But Final Fantasy 14 gives you a lot of time, and it really puts you to question like, hey, should I continue playing this game even though I've progressed so much, and like should I like it's more convincing. So
I think it's a more gauging of like if you are or not going to get into an MMO.
it gives you better experience,
like,
a better gauge, right? Yeah, you're right.
A lot of people have said, like, I think it's common knowledge, and I'm not, I hate to be in the camp that says like, oh, wait did you get to Heaven's Word? Rumbleborn kind of sucks. It's like I wouldn't. I don't want to be like that because the way I look is like, yeah, Rumbleborn is slow because it needs to get you from level 1 to level 50, and it needs to give you a story up to that point, and it needs to recap everything from 1.0, and then they have to tell its own story, which it does. I think that once the story gets going, it's very simple, and thankfully they got rid of a lot of the fetching bitch quests and shit like that, right? It's fairly easy to get through, but I think everybody could agree that like by the time they get to Heavens, where it's like, oh fuck yeah, I'm invested, I am 100% into it, and the fact you don't got to put in any money into it is pretty nutty to me. As someone who got into the game buying Heaven's Ward, that's crazy to me.
I will say though, in the past, Final Fantasy 14's free trial was very comparable to WoW's, where it wasn't
because it was just only 14 days.
Yeah, it was very like but now obviously like it's not it's a good positive. So this obviously is really pushing any other people who are interested in making an MMO game that hey, this is how they're doing it right. And at least Yoshi P is very vocal about what he's thinking, about what he wants for the game, what he wants for his team. So like you can tell that,
and for his players,
right? And for his players, but you can tell that hey, like we had to delay because this is what we needed to do. And if you compare that to Cyberpunk 2077, when they said, hey, I'm sorry to tell you all this, but we need a delay because we need to iron out some kinks here and there. And I'm sorry, but like we want this to be the best game that you want. Obviously, we're not talking about the end product. We're just talking about the messaging, right? A lot of people were sending death threats to some devs, even. Obviously, these were the minority, but some people were a little bit soured out because like, hey, I took this time off and I can't change it because it would look bad. Like it's not possible. So people were like treating Cyberpunk 2077 a whole lot differently compared to Endwalker when it was delayed. But I mean, at least we're happy that it got delayed. Endwalker seems to be like an amazing expansion.
I think I think it also changed the fact that like, Endwalker got delayed, a couple weeks. I remember being really excited for, I think it was going to be in November, and I was really excited. Grant didn't take any time off. I remember I was like really, really looking forward to it. And, when Yoshi P got on camera and he started crying and shit, and he was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I know you guys asked for time off and blah, 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 blah. I think most people are kind of like, oh yeah, you could totally understand Yoshi P because you've been making the best MMO up to this point. Like, yeah, of course, take your time, boss. Like, yeah, it sucks. So I had to deal with like getting my time, fixed and shit like that. But I could understand that because, we believe you. We trust in you,
Yeah, and I'm glad the community didn't hound on him because at the end of the end product is still, well...
so would you say you'll be curious about giving the free trial a shot once it comes back.
I've always wanted to. It's just my dumb brain works weirdly because I can go either for a whole month. I can just play one game and one game only, and if I play any of the games outside of it, I feel weird. But
that's how I feel about Endwalker. I tried to play Halo Infinite. I was like, this is not what I want to play.
this has been with most games.
This is the definition of rebound sex.
The only thing that I can always come back on, ironically enough, is Fallout 76 because it's not a hard game. It's a game that you can go brain dead to it once you reach at a certain level, and you're fine. So once you're there, like I'm happy with just like if I'm getting bored of playing a specific game, I'll just go back to Red Dead Redemption 2 online, and just hunt, just do whatever, or going back to Fallout 76 and just do my dailies, and then that's it. Or just read manga.
I get you. Right now, that's just the only thing on my mind is like all I want to play is N14 right now, and that's the thing though. Like Endwalker's content, if you ask anybody, like, yeah, the queue time sucked, the server congestion sucks, but when you get to the content, like, is it good? Like, yeah, fuck yeah, it's amazing. And I'm like, okay, cool, then it's worth it. You know,
feels like trying to get in the ride on Disney World.
Yeah. You know, without the fucking Genie app and having to get 12 different.
We need to do an episode quickly about that because that thing's a scam.
What, the fast pass?
And
no,
the new Genie thing. Because
yeah.
This episode's gone on long enough already. It's been over now.
Yeah, let's wrap. But yeah, I know the defunct. Yeah, basically watch the Defunct Land episode. It's phenomenal. It goes for an hour and 40 minutes and explain why the fast pass system is fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should go ahead and wrap, guys. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the DKM podcast. If you haven't yet, go ahead and join our Discord server, subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you guys know, you can listen to us on any streaming services like Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Anchor. I think that's all we got to say. Stay safe, take care. Until next time, see you later.